Hello, hello, my friends. Welcome to LinkedIn Lunch with Jen, coming live to you every Wednesday at noon Mountain Time. Today's lunch, I'm sporting some yummy leftovers. So we got some rice, brown rice corkscrew pasta with marinara sauce, meatballs, and then some steamed broccoli. And for a little spice, because you know I like my spice, I just got a bunch of black pepper on here. I think black pepper is sometimes an underrated spice. If you want to know how spicy it can get, added like a tablespoon to the next thing that you're cooking, and you'll see how spicy it is. Oh my goodness. I remember one time I made this really yummy chicken noodle soup. And I put in a bunch of black pepper when I was boiling the chicken carcass. I had like one of those rotisserie chickens, and I stripped everything off. And then I was boiling the carcass to get the broth. And holy moly, I put a bunch of black pepper in the water when I was boiling it, and it sure turned out to be a very spicy broth. So pretty good there. I love that kind of stuff, though. I think it's good. And anyhow, but yeah, so for our spice today, we've got black pepper. Today I'm talking to you about looking at your personal brand and how that ties to leadership. And we're going to be getting into this quite a bit this month. Actually, I've got a lot of pieces around this that I think are really important to look at. And so we're going to look at that, but I have to have a bite of a meatball because I'm like really hungry. Oh, okay. These are the meatballs from Sam's Club. You buy in the big monster bag. I love them. I always have that bag on hand because sometimes you just need like a quick, fast, easy dinner to make. And those meatballs, they're like really easy to throw in a lot of different things. So it's good stuff. So what are you eating for lunch today? Put in the comments. Tell me what you're eating. I want to hear from you guys. What is on the menu? So let's chat about personal brand, and just basically, because we're going to talk about tying your personal brand to who you are as a leader. I think that first of all, we need to make sure that we're clear about like what is a personal brand, right? And so let's chat a little bit about what a personal brand is not. So when I'm doing coaching with people, I work with a lot of leaders. We're talking about our brands. Who are they? What are they about? How do they leverage that brand, etc. And so when I'm talking with folks, I'll often hear people say, well, my brand is that I'm a motivational leader, or I'm an inspiring leader who brings my team together. I'm like, nope, that's not your brand. That sounds like a little marketing clip, right? Like that corporate ease stuff, right? You know, it's like the language that sounds very corporate-y. It's not that it's bad. It's not that you shouldn't be motivating your people or you shouldn't be inspiring your teams. Like that's fantastic, but that's not really your brand. Your brand is not that you're a leader, okay? Your brand is not that you're a job of any kind. Your brand is not the company where you're working. Your brand is not the university that you graduated from. Your brand is not like all of those things that could be denoted as something that can really be changed. Okay. So you just want to be careful about when you're thinking about your brand and you're saying, well, my brand is that I'm a magical manager, or something funny like that. It's like, well, what if you like lose your management job? What if you never become a manager again? So does that still even apply, right? Because you're no longer that magical manager because you're not a manager. Forgive all the air quotes, but I'm trying to put some emphasis on that. And so that's not what your brand is. Okay, you guys. So your brand is not not anything related to your title. Okay. Now, a million years ago, we had these brands around us. I shouldn't say a million years ago. That's too long. But even like 100 years ago, 75 years ago, and a lot of our towns and communities, your brand was based off of what you did for a job. And so your brand could be something like, I'm the town nurse or the town banker or the butcher or teacher or something like that. And that stood for something just in and of it, what it is. Okay. But here we are in today's situation where we're much more dynamic. There's a lot more that's going on about us than simply being the town butcher, okay, or the town attorney. And so we've shifted, right? So now there's lots of attorneys. Now there's lots of butchers, or actually, perhaps there's not even as many butchers as there used to be, but there's lots of grocery stores, right? So, or there's lots of hospitals, lots of nurses, lots of librarians, lots of teachers, right? So where there used to be just one or two of those people, now they're very, very plentiful. They're all over the place. So now it's gotten watered down because it doesn't stand for anything anymore. It's gotten really, there's just too many people, right? And so what one teacher does is different than another teacher, right? And in the end, you might say, well, they're teaching people. Isn't that the similarity? Yes, they're similar, but how they go about teaching is totally different, okay? Or law is law is law, right? Like there's just, this is the law, right? However, how you interact with your clients as an attorney, that's very different. Or maybe you have different aspects of the law. Like maybe somebody focuses on doing commercial law for large corporations. Maybe somebody else focuses on law for churches or religious organizations, or somebody else focuses on law for specifically divorce attorneys representing men, right? So you can have these very targeted things that your company does or what you do in that company, but that's very different than how you are showing up, right? So I could take two divorce attorneys that both focus on supporting men through divorce, and they can have really different styles. One of them can be a total bulldog and the other one can be really soft and squishy, right? And so they're going to have totally different personalities. And that's the beauty of looking at what your personal brand is and recognizing it's all the different aspects about your personality that come into it. And then the other cool thing is I could take those two divorce attorneys, I could enter them into school to become a nurse, and they can walk away from their attorney positions, all that legal work, and they could go and become a nurse. Well, now, if they were trying to say that their brand all along is that I'm a bulldog attorney or something like that, well, now what do they say now that they're a nurse, right? So you're a nurse. Your brand isn't that you're a bulldog attorney because you're now a nurse, right? So that's what I'm always saying. Strip the job title out of your brand. It is not that. You got to let that part go, okay? It doesn't take away from you being a leader, all right, my friends? You're still a leader. You're still managing the organization or the team or whatever it is, right? So that is still happening, but that's a little bit more of the doing, right? That's the task list, all the things that you're doing, okay? And then how you're going about leading, your personality, how you approach things, that's more your brand. That's more about who you are, okay? Because again, I could take you out of that company, remove you, and a different person could come in and be that leader doing the same stuff, right? Doing the same review of the P&L, interviewing people, hiring people, developing people, putting your people on a performance plan, making sure the work, etc. So the work itself could be exactly the same, right? And so, but how that new person is going to handle it will look different than how you handled it. Even though the job duties were exactly the same, who you are and your style would be different versus that other person who follows you, right? And so that's why, again, get rid of the job titles, let that stuff go, and then focus instead on who you are and what makes you unique. And so I think that that's a really cool opportunity when you're thinking about your personal brand tied to you as a leader, is really looking at, okay, with my personal brand, what makes me unique? What is it unique about me? Okay. And then leverage that as much as you can. And again, we're going to be talking about some different topics around this throughout the rest of the month. Forgive my my tissue here. I'm still dealing with some sinus stuff just from the smoke in the air. My goodness, I feel so bad for how much smoke is in the air from the fires. And so here we are. So anyhow, so let's talk about a little bit about what your brand is. And so hold on a second. I'm going to get a bite. I'm going to check comments. Okay. Okay. And again, throw in comments, right? And even after, when you come to watch this later, throw in comments. Let me know your thoughts. So like right now, like, what do you think about this? Is this kind of changing your perspective a little bit on what your personal brand is if we're not including that leadership title, right? So tell me how that's showing up for you and what you're thinking about that. So, so your brand, to understand it a little bit more, what is a personal brand? I like to think of it as that mark that you put on the world, that touch point that you have no matter where you're at, no matter where you're going. And so the touch point can be with your significant other. It could be with your children. It could be with the neighbors. It could be with people that you're dealing with in your community at large, like at church or your synagogue, or the people that you're interacting with at the grocery store. All right, so it could be those little tiny tidbit moments. You interact with somebody for a couple of minutes at the grocery store and you never see them again in your life, right? But you've put a mark on them. You have absolutely made a mark on them, on who they are. And so that's why I think it's really important to think about, okay, well, who am I? And if I'm just naturally who I am going through life, what do I want that mark to be? What do I want that thing to be that I'm consistently doing to connect with people? And so it's a unique experience to who I am. So if that person who saw me at the grocery store and I made that mark on them and we're just chatting for a couple of minutes while we're standing in the checkout line, if I was to see that person again a year later, maybe now they've come to interview your company, right? And you look at each other and you're like, I know you from somewhere, right? And so they may or may not remember that it was at the grocery store. You may or may not remember them either, right? But if they should remember you, are they going to get the same thing as over here of interacting with you at the interview, right? And if they get the job and start working with you, are you going to be the same person here versus the person over here who just interacted with them for a couple of minutes in the checkout line, right? And hopefully for you that is the case, because if you're trying to be different people, it is so exhausting. Oh my gosh, so exhausting. It's just not even, it's so hard to keep up with and be like, okay, what day is it? Okay, what version of myself am I, right? Like way hard to do that. It's just easier, just be yourself consistently across the board. And then it's a lot easier for you to just be that person. And then you don't have to stop and think about it. You can just go live and be in that zone of who you are. And as you're clear about your personal brand and you know that you're making that mark, okay, no matter where you go, then it gets a lot easier to think about how you are going to be a unique leader for who you are and what makes you shine and how you really make a difference, okay? And so, for example, let's just kind of talk through an example, right? So if you know that you want your personal brand to be something specific, and I'm just going to use like just a random example. Okay, this is not, I don't want to use examples of any of my specific clients because I don't want to put them on the spot here. Okay, so, but let's just say that the personal brand that maybe you really like Nike's phrase, just do it. And you're like, you know what? I like that. I want to adopt that for me. I like that phrase. I want that to be my personal brand. So then if you're the just do it person, okay, if that's the thing that you're constantly aware of in your mind and you wake up and you start your day and you think, okay, if I'm going to be known as just do it, what is that going to look like? How is that going to show up? Okay. So in that moment, when you're at the grocery store and you're interacting with that person in the checkout line, maybe you're talking to them because just do it. Like why not? Why not talk to a random person? Okay. Why not get to know somebody else? And by the way, there's all sorts of studies that show that if you are somebody who talks to a variety of different people, you can absolutely develop a different level of compassion and understanding for who different people are, their backgrounds and things like that. And so getting in the habit of talking to different people is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you got to be careful, right? Don't put yourself in bad situations, but if you're at the grocery store, relatively safe, right? And so if you're like, okay, if I want to be known for just do it, then why don't I just engage with this person? Why don't I just strike up a conversation and let's just see where this goes, right? Or you might notice something happens and you might second guess yourself and think, ooh, I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna hold off for a second. I'm going to pull back for a moment. And so in fact, I was talking to somebody about this, one of my clients, to be unnamed, where they're saying that they noticed that somebody had dropped something. And they thought, oh, I should pick that up. And then they thought, no, that's maybe not the right thing to do. I'm just going to hold back. I'm not going to engage with that person. I'm not going to go pick up that thing. And they held back. And then like 2 seconds later, they're telling me like in their heart, they're like, oh, I should have just done it. It would have been the nice thing to do. So if you're somebody who wants to be known for just do it, you just kind of talk yourself out of it and you're just like, okay, let's just do it. Let me just stop and pick up that thing. Maybe the person like dropped their I don't know, something out of their cart, like a pack of gum or something like that. Or you just pick it up off the floor and don't even overthink it. Now that person who's had that exposure with you in the grocery store, they're going to be grateful, right? They say, thank you. Okay. It was a very simple, small little gesture of kindness to pick up that pack of gum. And then, but you start extrapolating it out, right? From there. So imagine you're at home and you notice that the garbage needs to be taken out. Just do it. Just grab the bag and take it out, right? Instead of waiting to be asked to do it, right? Okay. Or maybe you notice that the laundry basket's pretty full. Like, okay. You know, and this is barring that you actually know how to do the laundry, right? I have some friends of mine where certain family members are not allowed to do laundry because they ruin other people's laundry. Okay? And so just seeing those things and just doing it and stop overthinking it. And so then they just start, just do it. I'm just going to jump in, right? Okay. And then maybe in the workplace, right? Maybe they start seeing like, we really need to start gathering people together again, right? So here where we're starting to come back to work and people are thinking about, okay, what are we doing post-pandemic and bringing people back together again? Well, maybe you think to yourself, it would be really nice if somebody started coordinating something where we can start gathering together, like a monthly book club or something like that. Just the person who wants to be known for just do it, they're going to just do it. They're going to say, you know what? Why don't I just do it? What's the big deal? Why not just make this something that I can do and I can just contribute, right? And so little by little by little, as you start to live your life to be just do it, right? And other people are going to see that and they're going to start to appreciate that about you because consistently across the board, from those moments of just quick random helping somebody out by picking up a pack of gum all the way to coordinating something that is larger and includes many more steps. They're going to see across the board that your brand is just do it. Now for you, I want you to insert whatever works, whatever is in your circumstance. But the cool thing is that now when you start tying that to being a leader, now you start thinking, okay, well, what does a leader do who wants to be known for just do it, right? What do they want to be? What do they actually do? And start asking yourself those questions and listen to your heart, and you'll know how you want to be handling it in those moments. Okay. Now I'm not giving you a license to just be like flying off the handle with stuff, right? I mean, you still need to be thoughtful. Don't do the whole the ready, fire, aim thing, right? You still want to do the ready, aim, and then fire. Be thoughtful and make sure that you're doing the things that make sense. Okay. And so, but from there, as you're showing up and you're letting your personal brand show up at work and in your role as a leader at work, then people start to get accustomed to who you are more. And you can even talk about it, right? Say, okay, this is who I am. This is what I want to be known for. These are some changes that you're going to see in me. I'd like for you to, if you're not seeing it, to point it out to me, help me to develop more in that way. And then it becomes this really beautiful thing where it's showing up in all areas of your life. And then that makes an enormous difference for you for the long run on how you're seeing your personal brand tie to you as a leader. It's really, really awesome. There's a great quote from Tom Peters. He's a longtime business management author kind of guy. And this is something that he talks about with branding. He says, all of us need to understand the importance of branding. We are CEOs of our own companies, me incorporated. To be in business today, our most important job is to be the head marketer for the brand called you. And I love that because, yes, you are working for a company that has a brand. If you leave that company and you go somewhere else, that other company is going to have a brand as well. The only connection between the two is you. You are the same person that worked at those companies. So what is your brand, right? What is it that you're bringing to the table? And having that clarity around who you are and what you want to be known for is going to help you to continue to do those things. They're going to make a difference. And it ties right back to what Tom Peters was saying about marketing you, right? That stuff is very, very important because that's something that you can control, right? You can't always control the way how things are marketed for the company that you work for, but you can control for yourself who you are and how you're marketing yourself, like how you're showing up on LinkedIn, for example, right? And so just keep that in mind. Think of the me incorporated, right? So you are your own brand. What is it that you want to stand for, all right? And then as you get clarity with that, I've even seen some people say, maybe I don't want to keep working at this company, or things need to change because this is not feeling good because where I'm at and what I want to be known for, the company and me, these are not a good match, right? And so then you start to see, okay, how do I influence that for good? Or some people have even said, you know what, I can't work here anymore. And that's okay. You get clear about who you are, move on to somewhere that's a better fit for you, and create that space for the right person to be at that other first company. All right, my friends, as we're wrapping up this conversation about what is a personal brand, that is my question to you is, what is your personal brand? Pop a note down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, and I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday for LinkedIn Lunch with Jen. Thanks, guys. See you soon.